Hello, friends. We're back with the Chris and Ryan show. Episode number, I don't even know what we're at now.
We're episode 6.
Episode six.
We're episode 6.
Yeah, things are really coming together now with the podcast, which is brilliant. And today we've got another really powerful topic that we're going to be talking about. But first off, I need to know, Ryan, how you feeling?
I'm good. I'm good, bro. Yeah, I don't even have much to add. I'm just working away. This is a little interesting insight. So I keep seeing stuff on Instagram and quotes and things, and it's talking about people saying you should probably be more private about everything that you're doing. So I'm just not going to tell you what I'm doing. You'll see it. You'll see it.
See it, yeah. Okay, good, good, good. No, I'm in the same thing. Just like always, pushing things forward, keeping positive, and hopefully today we're gonna inspire some people and help the listeners. So, what
We
are we
will.
talking about today?
We've got a nice we've got a good podcast today. Podcast title is How to Develop a Positive Mindset. And we're going to break that down in a couple of little sections. We're going to explain what do we actually mean by mindset. So what is mindset? I believe that obviously we talk about this and we talk about it a lot of knowing what we mean by mindset, but some people have absolutely no idea what that means.
Yeah.
So we'll do a little explanation. What are the attributes of a positive mindset? So how you need to think to develop a nice, good, positive mindset to help you exceed in anything that you choose to do. And we're going to end up with some actionable tasks for you guys to take away so that you can actually put the steps in place to start thinking like this and improve yourself.
So basically, it's an introduction to mindset and how to become a better all-rounded person.
Yeah.
It's kind of what we're talking about. Nice one, cool. Okay, what is the first point then that we've got in terms of how and from a mindset point of view, where does anybody that's a mindset, somebody that's aspiring to be a mindset person, where do you start? What's for the kind of average person out there that's maybe looking to progress and looking to become a better person, a more positive person, a thoughtful person, somebody that's looking to make change in the world. Where does somebody start? Because when I'm thinking about it now, it's a massive, it's a minefield. The amount
It
of
is a minefield.
all this stuff.
Or it's a minefield. Wait.
Yeah, it's a minefield. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, it's a minefield. It is because a lot of people, there's all this stuff on social media about positivity, and all these quotes get thrown around, and all these books, and all this, like, there's so much about it nowadays, and it feels like for me it's only really become a big thing quite recently in modern times. And mental
Yep.
health become a massive topic, and alongside that, the whole topic about mindset and growth and positivity, and this idea that, or not even an idea, but the fact that we're only here once, and we only get one shot at our own individual life, so you need to make it count.
Yep.
So where does somebody that's like unknown to the whole thing start? How do you get to that point where you say, well, I'm a mindset person, I'm a growth, I'm in a growth mindset. Where does somebody
Well,
like that start?
first, I think the way to start all these sort of things is understanding what that means in the first place. So, I've just literally stole this straight from Google. So, what do we mean? What do we mean by mindset? There was a few different descriptions and things, but I thought this one was pretty straightforward and the easiest to understand. Is a mindset is a person's usual attitude or mental state. So basically, it's how you think every day, whether you think in a positive way or whether you think about life in a negative way, whether you think about something bad happens to you, whether you try and take the positives with that and try and turn that into something good, or whether you let that manifest in you and let that bring you down. All these
Yeah.
sort of things are encompass what your mindset is.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So it's basically your character, who you are as a person
Yeah.
naturally, without the influence of, I suppose, who you are as a character is due to the influence of everything around you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's basically you as a character. It's you as a person. It's what people think of you when they're not with you.
Yeah. Are you a
Uh,
pessimist? Are you an optimist?
yeah,
All these sort of things make up how what your mindset is.
yeah. Okay, so So it's understanding. The first step is understanding what it is, and like you say, it's what you think and feel every day. It's who you are. It's who you are as a person. Is what your mindset is based off. And I suppose it has a little bit to do with your surroundings. Probably a big part to
A
do with your
massive part to do
surroundings.
with your surroundings.
Yeah, absolutely, a massive part. So for somebody that's looking to move into that space of mindset, what would you say what's the first step to becoming somebody that's wants to use their mindset to be, for positive change and to become a better person?
Yeah, well, to become, you want to sort of establish that where you are in the whole mindset thing. I think is a good place to start. But before you even get to that point, you want to know what is that makes up a sort of positive mindset. Like, what are the attributes that are associated with that? Like we
Yeah,
talked about there, we talked about optimism. We can talk about things like acceptance, resilience, gratitude, being conscious, and consciousness or mindfulness is, I
yeah,
think, is the two sort of ways that that sort of thing can be thrown around.
yeah,
Whether you're conscious of what's happening around you, you take it in, you allow your time to reflect, and then like integrity. Integrity is another massive one. So we can
absolutely.
start from the top. We can start
And
off at
and before
optimism.
you do that, I was just going to
Uh-huh.
ask something that I think that people will be asking at this point is, why is it important? Why is it important to care about mindset? What difference does it make? And what is, how crucial actually is it to be, in your opinion, why is mindset so important for an
I
individual's life?
Yeah, well, I think personally it's really important because in life there's so many uncontrollables that you can't control that affects your life in different ways. But your mindset on everything that happens in life is probably the most
Yeah.
important thing that you can actually control
Yeah.
on a day-to-day basis is how you think. That leads on to um, if you can control a lot better how you think and think in a bit more positive ways. We keep using this word positive. Um, More positive ways that can help you in loads of different things. That can help with your general mental health. That can help with your physical health. That can help with developing friendships and relationships with the people that you actually want to. It can help you move forward in life and your work. It can help you just there's so many things. Like I said, it's uncontrollable, but mindset is probably the most important thing that you can control, that you want to actually have control over,
Yeah.
and not just let your mind control you.
I like that. That's brilliant. So it's really actually important it sounds like, mental health, you're talking from a mental point of view, a physical point of view, a work related point of view,
It affects
relationships,
everything,
family. It
absolutely
actually,
everything.
your mindset has a huge part to play in how your life actually rolls out.
Mm.
So yeah, that I'm looking forward to talking about this more, because it's like it's everything really.
Mm.
If you've got a bad mindset, then be ready to have a not as good a life as you could have had you been in a positive mindset and a good
Yeah.
mindset. So let's jump into that then and talk about mindset. And like you were saying, let's start off before
Yeah.
how to get into the part before it.
Yeah, the sort of understanding attributes and things that make up a positive mindset.
Yeah.
So I've got some notes here. I think it's important to be able to explain this properly. So we're going to start from the top of the little list. I've got a list of 6 things that I believe makes up a positive mindset. There's loads of other attributes, but I think these are some of the most important ones that are
Okay.
really applicable in the day-to-day life. So the number one on the list, this is in no particular order as well, is optimism. By optimism, we mean a willingness to make an effort and take a chance instead of assuming that your efforts won't pay off. So that is the definition of optimism. We can use a couple of examples. I think what would be good for the people listening just now is, like we do in every other podcast, is give the listeners some examples of what we do in life, that how we think optimistically, for
Yep.
example. So you can take that off how in life and in your mindset. Let's use an example of optimism. How do you implement optimism in your everyday life?
Well, I think for me the most important thing is self belief.
Hmm.
You can be an optimist or a pessimist, and there's positives in both. But for me, I would say I am an optimistic person, and I
Yeah.
believe that good things will happen because I put good things out. Every interaction in my life that I have, whether it's with you,
Mm.
whether it's with any other friend or any other family member or any colleagues, any walk in life, or a random person that I meet, I always try my
Yeah.
best to be positive at all points. I always be polite. I'm always eye contact. I'm full attention on the person I'm speaking to. I pour myself into every interaction that I have.
Yep.
So every single interval or interaction in my life, I'm pouring myself, my 100% of Chris Thomas into that. 100% of me. I don't half-arse any interactions, and I do that because it's part of me as a character. It's just naturally who I am. It's not something I've developed. I feel like I've been that basically my entire life. So for me,
I think what to do is I'm going to give you what's the word I'm looking for? I'm going to give you like an idea, a scenario. I'll give you a scenario. So we'll use something that's very relevant right now. We've just went back into lockdown, the second or third one, who knows at this point. So we've just went back into this. We've got the podcast going, and what we were doing before this is all our guest stuff we were recording in person, which we obviously can't do now. Even the stuff between us, we were recording in person, but we can't do that. So you can either think about that and move forward in an optimistic way or a pessimistic way. So if we were moving forward in a pessimistic way, what would be your mindset, and how would you think about that?
If I was a pessimist, I'd be that we couldn't record in person, would be negative towards it.
You'd be thinking that, oh, we can't record in person, so we just can't do it.
Yeah, so
you'd be putting it down.
And that leads to people giving up on things, and not looking for other options.
Giving up really easily.
Yeah, that's where that comes from, is not looking at the other options around. And I personally initially wasn't keen on it, but like you've highlighted, what's more important than, the quality of our podcasts are important, but what's really important is the content that the people are getting, that the people that are listening to our podcast are getting. That's the most crucial point, is that we're delivering good content, and the format that we do that in actually doesn't really matter.
No.
So we're being optimistic by saying, let's adapt. And it's not even a big thing, like changing it from in person to this. It's not a massive deal, but it's just a small thing that we've changed to say, well, we can keep doing this. Just because we're in lockdown, it hasn't stopped us from doing anything. It just means that we need to do it in a slightly different way. But to go back to that point, for me, just to summarize on the first point I was making about optimism, is I feel like I'm optimistic, going back to the self-belief thing. And for me, I think that's an important thing for people to be able to have, is self-belief. When you're doing something, you need to believe in what you're doing. It's so important. And I believe in everything that I do, and I believe that I'm good at everything that I do, otherwise I wouldn't do it. And that's why I feel optimistic about it, because I'm confident in my own ability to make things happen. And I'm only confident out of trial and error. I've done stuff and I made mistakes and I failed at certain things, but I'm happy to keep, I'll keep failing until I succeed, So, and that's the way that it needs to go. You just fail until you make it work. Failure shouldn't be looked at as a negative. It should be looked at as a learning curve. So, it's just about looking at the scenario and changing the direction if you need to change it. And so like we say with the podcast, rather than doing it in person, we'll do it over video call over Teams. And that's an easy solution. And we're keeping up our optimism and pushing forward with it.
Yeah. And maybe another little quick example is a lot of people with the gym shutting. I think a lot of people see this in a very pessimistic way, and rather than thinking, oh no, I can't go to the gym now, I'm not going to progress as much as I can, is swapping that round and thinking about that in a more optimistic way, and thinking about, well, I'm not able to progress as quickly as I can, but even doing home workouts, I'm still going to progress anyway, regardless of how big or small it is. Having an optimistic outlook.
Do you know what I done yesterday?
Looking at any point, we'll go 2 seconds. We'll we'll see any type of progress as a good thing, regardless of trying to maximize progress. And anything short of that is looking at that negatively, looking at little bits as positively. So that's another example of optimism.
Absolutely.
What did you do yesterday, Chris?
I went for a run, and I ran about 3 kilometers, in about, I think it was probably about 20 minutes or so. Me and Justin went for a run, and I done 100 press ups. I've got some dumbbells. I done some chest press ups, biceps, a couple of core exercises, some leg stuff, back. I just done a little half an hour workout. And you can do that, you can pick up the what are the bands that we got during lockdown called?
The resistance bands. Yeah.
You can pick up resistant bands and do every exercise against a door frame, or go outside and do calisthenics workout, where it's body weight stuff only. You're doing press ups. That doesn't cost anything, Go out for a run, and I think we're just to quickly diverge into fitness. I think a little tip for people is when you're doing fitness stuff is to get a partner to do it with. It's so much easier when you've got somebody to rely on. You're motivating each other, and you're kind of you can't have any excuses, at that point. So definitely, if you're going for runs, go with somebody.
Even if that's a parent or a flatmate or a friend within
just get out. I mean, if you can't find somebody, then you just need to push on and go for a run. But it is better, definitely better, because you'll stop less when you're tired. You'll stop less, and you'll want to push yourself more because you're trying to, people are naturally competitive. They'll want to show, push yourself a little bit more. You'll be judging your actions, not anybody else's.
Mr. Al.
I'm gonna make a Big Al reference in every podcast we do. I'm just gonna drop it in.
There's so many. But that was optimism. So optimism is one of our 6 attributes to positive mindset. Moving on to our second attribute is acceptance. And I think acceptance is incredibly important. The ability to accept when something bad happens, just to accept that has happened. There's nothing you can do to change that. It's going back to what we've talked about in previous podcasts and earlier today. It's out with your control. If something's already happened, there's nothing you can do about it. It's done. So the actual official definition of this that I've got here is acknowledging that things don't always turn out how you want them to, but learning from your mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
A massive attribute when it comes to a positive mindset. So do you want to go over a little example of how you deal with acceptance and moving forward from there?
You're talking about acceptance from a setback?
Yeah. So say something bad happens to you, or not even something bad happens, but things don't turn out the exact way you want it to. What do you say to yourself when you want to accept that? Because obviously this is a massive trait of yours.
Well, something that I do when I'm setting out a goal, because we're talking about, and I know setback isn't the only term we can use here, but if we're talking about basically looking to achieve a goal, and you don't hit that goal, how do you accept it? Well, to go back a little point, when I'm setting goals, I create a variable for the goal. So when I'm looking at a goal, I don't just say to myself, right, I'm going to achieve this one thing. I'll give myself leeway either side, so that if it doesn't go to plan, I've actually still within the target, if you know what I mean. Because the reality of life is things don't always go to plan. Most of the times things never go to plan, actually. Things always change. And people, the problem with accepting setbacks is that people only look at that one goal and don't allow the variable to happen. So when you're setting a goal, say for example, you say I'm going to earn, X amount of money in the month for whatever it is you're trying to do. Rather than saying I'm going to earn that amount of money, create a variable so you can have plus minus either side. £500 less, £500 plus, or whatever the figure is. So that that you can be still within that bracket, but you're achieving towards it. So for me, when I'm setting goals, I always assume the plus minus of either side, whether it's money or whether it's a fitness goal, or whatever the goal is going to be. I always allow for some leeway either side, and that way, when you don't hit something, you straight away you know that you're still within the bracket, but you're not disheartened by it. But when you don't hit anything, it's like anything, you just need to push on with it. I mean, it's that simple. When you don't hit a target, you need to look at why you didn't hit it, and rechange it, recalculate it, look at it, look at what went wrong with it, and then push on with it in a different way. You look at it and say, that could have been better because of this. Well, look at that, and you push on with that.
Accept that you've not hit what you want to hit.
Accepting it.
Just accept.
I mean, accepting that things in life don't go well. Things, I know, like nothing in my life has really gone to plan. I mean, I haven't really planned anything so far. A lot of this stuff has just been ideas, and we've just progressed it. So for me, that's why I never get disheartened about stuff, because to be honest with you, Ryan, I don't actually really set many big goals in life, because I like to work day to day. I like a lot of my work, I'm just like really only focusing on the next like 3-4 days ahead. when I'm thinking about business related stuff, I'm planning the business for 12 months ahead. But for my own life personally, I know that I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. So I'm only realistically planning a couple of days ahead. And that's literally how I live. So I don't set big goals for myself. I set like serious goals to say, right, this is what we need to achieve.
Yep.
But the things that I set out is that this is how we need to achieve it. And
Yep.
that's the difference. I'm not just saying this is how we achieve, like that's the goal that we have. It's actually setting out how are we going to achieve it and saying, well, we need to do this action, we need to do this action, we need to get this person involved, and we need to promote this, and we need to do this, and then we need to push all them forward and really work hard at making sure it happens.
Yep.
So that's how we plan for the future. But in terms of big personal things, I really the way that I deal with setbacks is by not giving myself setbacks. Don't give yourself setbacks. If you it's like when you go to the gym. I'll give you a great example. When me and you went to the gym at the start of the year, you'll notice I didn't have a notebook. I didn't count anything. I didn't like some people at the gym take note of what they've done, and I understand why that's important. But what was important for me at the gym, rather than tracking my progress, what was important for me while I was at the gym was just working as hard as I could and just pushing myself to the limit. And then I knew that I'd done as much as I could anyway. So it wouldn't have mattered if I had a progress sheet. And like I say, I do understand the importance of like progress sheets and tracking your progress and stuff. But I also see the value in, with the gym, for example, just pushing myself until I physically couldn't push anymore. So like I say, it wouldn't have mattered. So you don't need to deal with a setback when you don't reach something. So I try and have an openness about it. I suppose that doesn't really answer the question, because really, in a way, I'm just saying I don't get setbacks. But I try not to. Like, my dad died. I don't look at that as a setback. I looked at that as an opportunity to.
Yeah, but you had to accept that as happening to then move forward with it, which is exactly what you've done.
The easiest thing with it to summarize acceptance is it's just something that you have to do. If you're willing to push yourself forward, to be in that mindset, it isn't comfortable. It isn't it is uncomfortable to be in a growth mindset, because you're constantly out of your boundaries, and you're constantly pushing yourself against the edges of your mind. You're always trying to expand it and push out. So you're like, I always feel uncomfortable doing stuff. I'm always nervous doing stuff, because I'm constantly doing something new, and I'm constantly doing something I've never done before. And a lot of the stuff that I've done, I've got zero experience in, So that's why I just give stuff a go. And when things don't work out, it's not even a case of saying, it's not like, for me, it's not even a case of being like, all right, that's happened. It's just like, move on. I'm not even thinking about it, what not working. As soon as I know something's not worked, it's like, right, let's work out how we do it and push on with it.
Yeah.
Things are constantly going to go
which is
wrong.
acceptance at that point.
I suppose it's a form.
At that point, when you say, right, that's not worked, let's move on, that is you accepting that that's not worked, and then you've moved on from it.
And I feel like, because I've had so many setbacks, as you would call them, I feel like because that's happened a couple of times, some big serious stuff has happened to me in my life, that it's just a case of accepting that life as a whole is a setback. Accepting that everything's going to happen. The world doesn't always work in your favor. Accepting that you need to, rather than you moving the tiles in front of you. I know it's a really weird analogy. Moving the whatever you call it. You moving the obstacles is the word I'm looking for in front of you. You rather than looking at the obstacles, look ahead of the obstacles, and jump over them. That's the way I try to look at life, is just ignoring all the stuff that's negative and doesn't serve me, and just pushing through with the stuff that does. And when things don't work, just move on. The next thing, like, so it is acceptance. And my way of accepting it is literally just shrugging my shoulders and just saying, that's it, move on with it.
That's it. It's done. You can't control it. You can't control it because it's already happened. And then planning how you can then move forward from that point.
If I lost in Kovo all the money I've got, the house I'm in, everything, if I lost everything, I'd still be fine, because I'm alive and I'm breathing and I've got great people around me, and that's what's important. Not about the money, not about anything like that. Honestly, seriously, I would absolutely just be fine. Not disheartened at all. You just need to progress, and that might even happen. That actually might happen one day, and if it does, I'll still push through, because there's nothing that can stop me. And it's the same with everyone else. There should be nothing that can stop you. So it's for me, it's more about looking ahead. The acceptance is just like the small part of it. It's about pushing on with it.
Which actually takes us on to our next point in this list. So there is acceptance, and that's when something bad happens to you, just accepting that has happened and then moving on from it. But the ability to accept that and move on is resilience. So the definition that I've got from here for resilience is bouncing back from adversity, disappointment, and failure instead of giving up, which is exactly we've kind of just covered two in the one here.
Yeah.
Because to be able to accept, after accepting, to be able to move on, you have to be resilient. So I don't think we should actually go too much into that because we have pretty much summed that up. So at first you have to have the mindset to be able to accept that something bad has happened.
I think
Or,
you're perfect to answer this resilience. Think about the last 6 months of 2019 for you. You know, talk about resilience. So
yeah, we won't go too much into it because we've talked a lot about what happened in that time for me. But during that time, I obviously went through a really rough time with everything happening with the granddad, the breakup, the dad, and then losing the job. But
this is in the space of what, like 2 months or something?
Yeah, it's in the space of if you're talking about the breakup, the dad and the job was in the space of June, 3 months. Which the silence. But yeah, during that point in time, it was obviously very difficult. But I did just accept things for what they are. There was nothing I could have done about them. Losing the job, it's done. There's nothing I can do to change that. The dad, again, absolutely nothing I can do to change that. As heartbreaking as it is, the breakup, that could have probably went either way. But at that point in time, and even now, that happened at the right time. That was probably something that's more in your control. But the resilience and then bouncing back from it, I was able to just accept that was it. There was nothing I could do about these situations. And my resilience to come back is, what did I do when my dad died? Probably I'm not the best example because I drank and took a lot of drugs. that's what I done to try and cope with.
Yeah, but we're talking about long term though. You know, I think.
But like moving on further down the line, we use the job for an example. I accepted that was the way that it had to be. I had to leave. That was it. My resilience was, I just accepted that. I was like, right, cool. I'm leaving the job. I've got X amount of money. I can have this amount of weeks off. I need to find another job. What do I do? Then I made a plan. Right, I'm going to go speak to these people and see if they can help me out. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. So I was able to just quickly bounce back from that because I knew what I needed to do, accepted, and then moved forward, which is the resilient side. Moving on from being in the dark sort of borderline depressed state of drinking a lot. It took me a while to accept where I was at that point in time, but I did end up accepting that. And then from there, I made a plan to move forward. I was able to bounce back from that. I'd done the 6 months sober, which I learned a lot about myself. If anyone is in that sort of same mental state.
Every time you say 6 months sober, I'm just going to think about pink gin and raspberries.
Pink gin, raspberries, and iron brew. You're a bad man. A bad man. It's all his fault. I would have stayed sober for longer if it wasn't for this man.
I broke Ryan's, what is it called? Sobriety? Is that what you say?
Sobriety.
I broke your sobriety.
Broke it.
With a little bit of pink gin and iron brew. No, it was strawberries, not raspberries. Strawberries.
It was a berry. That's all we need to know.
It was a berry.
Females. They're wonderful. So if you're not watching the video now, I think he's crying. Oh, incredible.
Sorry.
But yeah, so you should be. But yeah, that's an example of acceptance, resilience. The first step in with dealing with setbacks is being able to accept it, and then it's a resilience to be able to bounce back from that and just continue moving forward. Two amazing attributes of a positive mindset. Moving on to numero 4, we've got gratitude, which is
so important. Big one for me.
We talked about optimism probably being one of the most important, but gratitude. And I hadn't really thought about gratitude again until after I went through that massive period of just sort of losing myself back at the end of 2019, and then I started 2020 with a lot of gratitude. So the definition here for gratitude is actively continuously appreciating the good things in your life. And that can be anything from appreciating that you've got a house over your head. It's appreciating that you've got the friends around you that they do. It's appreciating that you've got family. Some people
Yeah.
don't have family. We don't have, like, appreciate your dad.
Yeah.
Like, all these things, having the gratitude in life to be able to appreciate the things around you that not everyone in the world has. We're so fortunate where we are just now in life, that even though we've got people dying around us, I've had family members die recently. My mum's had one of our good friends die recently, but it's all these bad things happen, is still being able to understand and be able to show gratitude towards the things that we do have.
I'll give you an example, right? Have you got any
Yeah.
water next to you? Take a sip of the water next to the microphone so people can hear you slurping.
This is some weird ASMR stuff. People charge for this.
Yeah. So you just took a drink of water. So there's kids in Africa that need to walk 10 miles a day to get a cup of dirty water, and we have it accessible right here, right now.
I need to walk 10 feet to a tap.
So that's one thing to be appreciative of. Another thing is, see if you breathe into the microphone so everyone can hear. Breathe through your nose and out through your mouth.
Honestly, I'm going to charge for this.
I remember there was a story. I mean, how beautiful was that breath? You know,
I mean,
you
it
took
was good. It was good.
You took another breath. I remember there was a thing. Can't remember how long ago it was. Now there was an attack in Syria, and somebody was a lady, a female was stuck under the rubble of a building that had fallen, and she was stuck under it for 4 days or something like that. And the people in Syria, you know, the support teams and the locals managed to move the rubble, and the only thing the lady wanted was to breathe. That was, and when I think there was an interview team when she was in the hospital in bed, and she said the only thing I wanted was air. So that puts it into perspective, you know, gratitude wise, you know, right down to the basics. There's some people on this earth, all they want is to breathe fresh air and to drink clean water, or not even clean water. They just want to drink water. You know, it's like I say, kids, literally like 5-year-old children need to walk 10 miles, you know, with no shoes on their feet and no clothes on to go and get water. That is the reality of it. And people in this Western world complain about not getting enough likes on a photo, or complaining that they're not doing well in uni. And to me, that is, sorry to say it, but bullshit. You know, absolutely. There's kids in this world that have to go through that. There's kids in this country, in the UK, that we know about. There's been a lot about that with the whole, you know, government making a U-turn on Marcus Rashford's campaign. There's kids that are hungry, and people complain about the most ridiculous things. So for me, that's really important for gratitude. For me, I'm so grateful about everything, like everything around me that I have, and not even about the nice stuff, like having a house and a car, or, you know, a nice this and nice that. Is actually just the basic stuff, like having water and shelter and clothes and breathing. You
Being
know,
able
and
to get easily accessible food.
yeah,
Like,
the
there's
shops.
all
Do you know
these
what I mean?
things.
My
Yeah.
family got great people around me, got, you know, great friends as well. And that for me, I think about that all the time, how grateful I am, because I do think about the other people in the world and this country, and, you know, there's other people that are and anybody that's listening to this, I guarantee there's somebody in a worse position than you are. If you think you're in a bad place, it's always somebody worse off. And a lot of these people have to bear with it. They don't have, you know, in these you know, third world countries, there isn't any of this support that the UK has. There's no funding towards mental health. There's not even hospitals. There's no doctors or nurses. You know, so think
To be
about
fair,
that.
even in this country, the mental health support is absolutely ludicrous, but that's another conversation.
Yeah, but compare this Western world that we're in, where we have a lot of infrastructure for most of the stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
These countries don't even have that yet. You know what I mean? So I think I agree with your point. It's not as good as it could be, but there's other countries that are really suffering. So there's nothing that we've got to complain about, and that's why I don't complain about anything ever. I never complain about anything. I'm grateful for everything, and that's kind of goes back to that point you're talking about setbacks, because I put the two together as the acceptance and things. It's like, how can I complain about something when there's kids that are hungry, and there's people that don't have water, and there's people that are struggling to breathe, and there's war, you know, well, maybe there's not a war going on, but, you know, these countries and, you know, Syria and whatnot are going through issues still. And I just think about that all the time. That I've got no place to be complaining about anything. How can I complain about anything? You know. So that's really the way. That's the reality I look at. You know, when you zoom out and look at the reality of the world that's going on, people are struggling to breathe in certain places. There's no medical assistance. People can't get water. You know, I've got nothing to complain about. I've got the, you know, the best life. We're in like the top 5%, you know, the top 10% of living conditions
Yeah.
in the world. So, you know, the things, once you get good living conditions and we've got the infrastructure, all the small things like running a business or doing a podcast, that's nothing, you know, when something goes wrong, you know, who cares? Yeah, you know, that's the way I look at it. So there's nothing that can bother me because I know the reality of the rest of the world, you know, and I don't even know it that well. I just know it through news. You know,
Yeah.
I don't, I mean, it's probably worse when you actually go there and experience it on another level, you know. So um that's my thoughts on gratitude and why it's so important. You know, I actually think a lot about it. That's like the main point you've said so far for me is something
Yeah.
that I feel like.
I think so too. I definitely think so too. Um, I think you summed that up quite well, especially with um, the water and the breathing sort of thing that you went through. There's a word for it, but it escapes me. It really puts into perspective how much we should be grateful for.
Absolutely,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, it's great. Gratitude is an amazing thing that you can practice to have more a positive mindset with everything. Here's a little action for you. Take a little notepad and paper right now. Pause this and write down 3 things that you're grateful for.
Yeah.
There you go. There's your first gratitude practice. And then the more and more you do little things like that, the more and more you understand different parts of your life that you are really grateful for, and it might open your mind a little bit to other things. But moving on from that, we've got number 5 of the 6 of our positive mindset attributes is consciousness/mindfulness. Some people, it's very construed, and it can be quite confusing, especially online. Well, a lot of these quote sites and influencers and people talk about um, opening your consciousness or having really good mindfulness, but it's basically the same thing to me. Um, which is dedicating the mind to conscious awareness and enhancing the ability to focus, which probably doesn't sum that up very well, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of that definition, but for consciousness and mindfulness, to me, it's having awareness of everything that's happening around you and everything that's happening inside of you, probably more inside of you, being very conscious and aware of how you're feeling all the time, what
Yep.
actions and habits and things that you do on a daily basis, how that makes you feel, and being conscious and mindful of that comes in is being able to identify whether that makes you feel good or bad and being able to change that based on how that makes you feel. So for example, one thing I'm really struggling with just now, but I've been mindful enough to being able to acknowledge and understand that that's happening just now, is spending far too much time on my phone. I
Mm-hmm.
could spend maybe like half an hour, 40 minutes or something in the morning. Mainly when I first wake up, I feel like it sets you up for the day. Um, when you first go on your phone in the morning and you spend half an hour scrolling through aimless posts on Instagram and Facebook or watching a video or anything like that, sets you up to. It makes me feel tired. I feel lethargic. It doesn't make me feel good doing that first thing in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I have the ability to, rather than just doing that and then carry on with my day, I think about these things, think about how that's actually making me feel, and then now I'm going to implement a change. It's very difficult. The way that your phone's made up and how addictive it is, staying on the phone is incredible. So it is very difficult to do. But I'm going to now make sure that every single morning, the first thing I do isn't check my phone. I'm going to get up and I'm going to grab a drink of water and I'm going to do something else, maybe whether
Yeah.
that's go for a walk or something. But that's an example of being mindful, is understanding that, right, I'm going on my phone for half an hour. I feel like fucking shit once I actually get out of my bed because I've been on my phone for half an hour. What can I do to change that? And I feel like that's a good example for consciousness or being mindful of how you feel.
Absolutely, yeah. I think consciousness. I think it's really good that for you, and that could help a lot of other people, is you're actually almost, you're like your, so when you're at your work, you know, you've got a boss. You know,
Hmm.
well, most people have a boss if you're not self-employed or run your own company, but you know, you're almost like your own boss of your life. So there's two Ryan Fiveys: the Ryan Fivey that does all the stuff, the
Hmm.
conscious Ryan Fivey, and then there's the subconscious Ryan Fivey who's your manager. You know,
Yeah.
that's your boss, and he's saying in your head, Ryan, you were on your phone too long this morning. You need to stop that. You need to get yourself together.
Yeah.
And that's how people should do it, is put yourself in the two minds and use your subconscious to tell you, open up your subconscious, because your subconscious knows when you're doing something wrong. It knows that you're spending too much time on your phone. You are. When you're up too late. You say it to yourself, yeah, I'm going to be tired in the morning. But opening up your subconscious and letting it be your manager is a great thing. I do that as well. I try and let my subconscious, I listen to my subconscious, the little voice in your head that tells you when you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, and say, well,
it's 11 o'clock, but you've just got one more episode of Sex Education on Netflix to watch. You're gonna do it. You're gonna do it no matter how tired you're gonna feel in the morning. You're not listening to that boss in your head.
My whole life I've been tired. I've never had a good sleep in my entire life. I've never ever went to bed at a reasonable time, because I have so much energy. But I hate it every single morning. I'm tired. I feel tired, and I'm getting better now. I'm getting up and having a shower and getting on with the day now. Getting up, getting breakfast, and I'm just getting up. But before, during high school, even primary school, I always struggled to get up. But letting that subconscious start to speak to you and opening up and listening to your subconscious, I think, is a really good tip for people. They can take away right now, is listen to it, and let that be your guiding light for when you're not doing something right. And listen to it, and that, I think that's where a good actions come from, is listening to yourself internally. So
and we've talked about that in listening to yourself when bad things happen, but it's listening to yourself when good things happen as well. It's understand that you might go for a run, right? It's your first run of the year. You go for the run, and you feel incredible after that. Listen to yourself. Your body and your mind is telling you, I feel really good after this, and then have it being mindful of that feeling, and then push and doing it again. It's being mindful of the good things that happen and repeating those actions because it's good, and your body's telling you it feels good, and the bad things is being able to be conscious of that and then eliminate them.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm constantly, you're probably do it more than I do. It's just reviewing everything, constantly reviewing everything. Everything I do, every action I do, I always think about, I'm talking to myself. I know it sounds weird to say that I talk to myself, but everyone does it anyway.
Everyone talks to themselves.
Yeah.
I feel that was a weird taboo. Like, maybe taboo is the wrong word, but like growing up, like people used to say it's like, oh yeah, people who talk to themselves are crazy. And I'm like, what? Like looking back now, I'm like, everyone talks to themselves. You should talk to yourself more. If anything,
I'm glad that I do now.
More.
I talk to myself about everything. I'm constantly talking to myself about the way that I do stuff and keeping myself organized and making sure I get everything I need done, and constantly reviewing everything. Not so much reviewing everything, but being conscious of everything that I'm doing. I'm a waste of my time. Is my time useful? When I'm doing something, I'm saying, is this the best use of my time? Could I be doing something better? When I'm doing something that's a waste of my time, saying, look, I need to stop this, and I'll do that. I'll be in meetings and I'll just leave. This is a waste of my time. It's no good for me. Like I say, I said it in our last podcast together. Our Q&A is about the fact that, and I'm going to bring this up probably every podcast, is that we're going to die one day, and there's absolutely no time to waste, and I won't waste my time because I know that I don't have, ages left. If we're lucky, you've got 60 years.
And that's being conscious and mindful of time. It's a very good example.
I let that consciousness of time be conscious of all the individual actions I'm doing, because all the individual actions add up to that ultimate goal of whatever it is we're trying to achieve. So if you're wasting 30 minutes at the start of your day, then that's the kind of thing you need to be conscious of. So for me, that's why it's really important. I'm conscious of time, and I'm using my self-conscious to constantly be improving to make sure I'm getting the best use of my time, and everyone should be doing that because everyone's time is equally as valuable.
Fantastic. So
basically what we're saying there is be conscious, use your self-conscious,
listen to the voice in your head where it tells you if you don't like something and something happens, and if you do like something when something good happens, listen to it, evaluate, and let that take you forward.
Yes.
Let
it be your guiding light.
Indeed. And moving on to the last one, I've actually got integrity down here, which I think is really good. Which is the trait of being honorable, righteous, and straightforward instead of being deceitful and self-serving, which I think is a fantastic description of that. So integrity is being that honest person, being straightforward with people, not beating around the bush, not lying to people to get what you want. Deceit, lies and deceit, not doing those things is being a person of integrity, and is thinking about others as well as thinking about yourself, like not allowing what you want in life to take precedence over how that makes someone feel. I feel like I'm sort of going a roundabout on that definition. Maybe you might have a better
Yeah,
way of figuring
I
it.
think that there's two different elements to it, because I said in the last one between me and you in the Q&A that you do need to be selfish to get the things that you want in life,
Yeah,
and you do need to be selfish to get the things that you want in life. But at the same time, we should all be servants to each other. You know,
yep,
humans should all be servants to other humans and to other life forms, and that's what we should be, is, you know, and to be in, you know, like you're saying, honest, and to be generous, and to be a good human, is to be a servant to other people, and to be helpful, and to be conscious of other people, and, you know, to be empathetic to the world around you, and to care about it, and to take action about it. And this is why everyone's wants is going to want to become a vegan. Everyone wants to drive an electric car. People are conscious about climate change, because people are empathetic and they care about these topics. That shows people's integrity. They care about the world. You know, there is only one, unless Elon takes us to Mars, but that's not going to happen for a while. So we've got this planet, and we need to, really need to look after it. That's why people are so conscious about recycling as well. So it kind of, I know you're talking about deceitfulness and all that kind of stuff, but for me, you know, that comes back down to the point that we're servants, and we should be servants. So we should use ourselves to help everything else in the
yeah,
world. Imagine if everyone was a servant to everyone else, where we would be as a not the nation being the world, everyone
hmm
on it, all 8 billion people and all the animals, and, you know, if everyone just worked together. So that's why I think it's important to be honest, and to be open, and to be empathetic, and all these kind of things I'm talking about is crucial to helping us all, you know,
is all part
coming
of
up together.
is all part of integrity.
That's what it. What is the actual Oxford definition for integrity?
The Oxford definition. Well, this is a definition that I got out of just online. Give me 2 seconds. Google is our friend. Um, integrity definition.
Oh yeah, another tip for people: if you don't know
The
something,
qual. Wait,
Google it.
wait. I've got. Yeah. If you don't know anything and you've got a question, just Google it. YouTube probably has all your answers to anything that you need to solve.
Absolutely everything is on YouTube.
So yeah, like you were saying, this is probably a lot better definition. I should have just looked up this one. Um, is a tip for anyone: if you're going to do a podcast, look over your notes and make sure they're proper. Integrity definition is the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles.
Yeah, so it's strong moral principles,
Is
which
exactly
is,
what you explained there, and
yeah,
this is a lot better than what I wrote down.
yeah.
Google
So that
showing me
that
up
for
on the
me is
podcast.
your self morals, being a respectful person, respecting yourself, a strong individual, you know, a confident individual, helping people, ready to be a servant to everyone, empathetic, understanding the emotions, and trying to affect change and make positive change. You know, that's
Yeah,
everything. And that being a servant is great for your mindset, you know. And I feel like we've both done that. We've helped each other in our own ways. In the last year,
yeah,
I've tried to help
completely.
as many people as I can, giving advice and not holding back on the advice. I mean, this podcast is us giving our advice, you know. And I think that's integrity,
Yeah,
you know, as putting your best foot forward, and helping everyone around you. I think that's why it's important, and that to me forms a good mindset. It's really part of it, because when you're helping other people will help you. Positive attracts positive, negative attracts negative. So what you put out is what you get back. So
hmm wonderful. Well, that's basically the 6 attributes of the positive mindset. That's so we've covered so far is what we actually mean by mindset, and what the attributes are, which is optimism, acceptance, resilience, gratitude, consciousness, mindfulness, and integrity. And moving on for that, that takes us to round about the end of the podcast. So we what we've done, well, we're near the end of the podcast. We've explained what we mean by mindset. We've explained the attributes for you to develop a positive mindset, things that you need to adopt and think about in day-to-day life.
yeah,
And what we're going to do now is something that I think every single person on the planet should be doing. And it's something that I done early last year that really helped get me back into a positive mindset, and understand a lot more about myself and how I can and identify bad, maybe not necessarily bad traits, maybe traits that weren't serving me well, maybe traits that I had that wasn't allowing me to serve other people,
yeah.
which is what I like to call a life audit. So
Ooh. What's a life audit?
so a life audit's basically you you have a document in front of you and you answer questions about yourself as honest as physically possible, which can actually be very difficult. The first time I'd done this, it was horrendous because, well, it's not, I say horrendous, but I say horrendous in the way it was difficult because being completely honest about yourself, you need to have this transparency that when you first start to do it, it's very difficult to come by. You might be with being honest, it brings up things about yourself that maybe you don't want to recognize, even though you know it's there. Which brings it. It's incredible. But it's very difficult to do. So we're going to keep this one nice and simple. I've got a lot more in depth and in detail one that we'll release later on down the line, for everyone. But I think to start everyone off, especially since we're talking about the first steps in developing a positive mindset, we're going to start off nice and simple. So, this I'm going to create a template for this. This is going to be available for a platform called Notion. It's a sort of note-taking app. It's completely free to download if you're using it just for yourself. A lot of the things that I'm going to be doing in the future with the podcast, and then we're giving out sort of documents and things, are all going to be in Notion. So I definitely recommend downloading this, and you'll have the template there that you can just fill in. And in that template are going to be examples for each question for you. So starting things off now, the first question that is the first heading for the questions that we're going to ask is, where am I at just now? So it's taking inventory of where you are at this stage in your life and understanding a little bit more and deeper how you're feeling right now, where you are in your work life, where you are in education, how you feel physically, how you feel mentally, where you are financially, and where your mindset is at that moment in time. And then what the most important thing is obviously being really honest and answering those questions, but then asking yourself, am I happy with where I am at that point in time? And if you're not happy with that, that leads you on to the heading down the line of how you're going to change that. So the first one is, like I said, where I'm at just now, and then under that headline is where you're at in education, where you're at in work, whether you're a bartender, whether you work in retail, whether you are running a company, your physical health, where you're at just now with that. Are you, is being honest with yourself? Are you overweight? Are you underweight? Are you happy where you're at just now? Are you strong? Are you weak? Like, be really honest with yourself and where you think you are at. Not having any positive and negative connotations to anything that I just said there. Just be open and honest in where you are just there, where you're at in your mental health. Do you feel really negative all the time? Do you feel down? Do you feel sad? Do you feel happy? Are you excited about life? Where are you at in your mental state?
You should be excited about life. Life should be exciting for everyone. You only get one time at it, and you can do anything you want in this life. There's nothing you can't do.
You should be, but there's obviously loads of things that people go through that lead them to not be like that. But what we're doing with this mindset shift is getting people to get to that stage that we're at and being excited about everything that we're doing and just being excited about life in general.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I know it's getting to that point, and that maybe I'm jumping the gun on that, but that's the way it should be. Everyone should be excited about it.
100%. 100%.
You can do anything you want, and history's shown us that there's no such thing as an excuse.
Indeed. So that's mental health, and then we move on to finance. I think finance is very much overlooked by people, younger people these days, especially. It might have been. I say these days. We keep saying these days as if we've lived like 50 years. We do it all the time. There's a friend that I was speaking to pointed that out, that we constantly say these days as if we have some insurmountable knowledge about everything that went on in the past.
I think that we have.
I think we do have a good understanding about how things have changed to this point now.
Yeah, I think I think we're pretty well educated on stuff that's happened in the past, and I also think that we have lived a lot of experiences that somebody probably wouldn't live until they're maybe 40 years old. So we've accelerated their experiences and the things we've experienced. So
indeed,
so that's the reason why we're trusted advisors to the nation.
Too much. Number 5 is finance. So, as being very open and honest with yourself about your financial situation at the moment.
Yeah.
Are you in debt? If you're not in debt, do you have an overdraft? Do you not have an overdraft? Do you have savings? Do you wish you had savings? All these sort of things. I think I spoke about this in the last podcast as well, when we spoke about the book recommendations. Is it took me until my life audit to really realize where I was financially, and it was fucking shit. And is to actually understand and let my financial situation just seep into my head, and then sort of identify where I actually was. And once I'd done that, it was very easy to create a plan to get out of that. And the hard part is following that. But yeah, is identifying where you are financially, being completely honest. Are you in financial trouble? Do you have a lot of debt that you probably shouldn't have? Is
Yeah.
being very open and honest about this. And then it's mindset. So obviously the whole point of this podcast is helping people develop into a more positive mindset. It's being really open and honest with yourself where your mindset is at the moment. Am I a negative person? Do I think about things pessimistically? Do I find it really difficult to accept things when
Yeah.
they happen to me? It's been really maybe a good point is to go through the 6 things that we've just spoke about and the attributes, and asking yourself honestly, do you feel like you do these attributes already? And if not, there you go. And are you happy with the mindset you are at the moment? Because we say how to develop a positive mindset, but maybe people are quite happy being in the mindset they are, which is again perfectly fine. Identifying whether that's happy or not. So that's where I'm at just now. Moving on to point 2, sort of heading 2, is who I'm around just now. Like, if you've not seen the podcast already with Big Al, which we talk about, and we'll probably talk about in every single one in the future, is he talks about controlling your environment, how important it is to control your environment. And one of the main things that we can control in our environment is our family and friends. People say that you can't choose your family, which is true, but you can choose whether you be around them or not.
Yeah.
And whether you like to be around them and how what effect that they have on you. So for this section, I want you to look at the headings, family and friends. I want you to list the members of your family that you have contact with very often. I want you to write about them. Write about whether you like how they act or not, and how you feel about how they are as a person, how that rubs off on you after seeing that person. Do you feel drained? Do you feel negative? Do you feel angry all the time? Or do you feel happy and do you feel excited after you've been with that person? Be all really open and honest. And I want you to do the exact same thing with your friends. Write down the list of all your friends' names. Not everyone that you know, but the people that you surround yourself with on a daily or weekly basis. Write down their names, what you think about them honestly, and how they make you feel. Because that will help you identify whether some friends, as much as you see them as a friend, maybe they don't actually make you feel that good being around them, and that leads you on to making a plan on how to change that.
Yeah,
And then
we're talking about your A team, your day ones,
yeah,
your
you're
top
talking
5.
your
Yeah.
top 5, or if you've got multiple friend groups, your top 30. But the people that you surround yourself by the most. From there, that you want to move on to where you want to be for all of the above. So where you want to be in your education, whether you want to know more about philosophy or whether you want to educate yourself more on maths. It doesn't have to be whether you're at uni or college or high school or whatever. That's education's where you're at in the knowledge of life. Do you want to educate yourself more on set personal development, etc., etc.? Um, like work, where are you where you want to be work wise, or and if not, move on to the next stage, which is how we're going to get there. So that's the very last stage, is creating an actual plan for yourself on how you're going to get to where you want to be with all these things, whether like education, work, your physical health, your mental health, your finances, changing your mindset, not hanging about with certain family members or friends as much or not at all that make you feel crappy, and hanging about more with people that do make you feel nice and making the effort with that. So that is the life audit. It's probably a bit boring hearing me just actually going through with it, but like I said, we've got
Change your
this.
life. Change your life.
It will change things. It's really important to do this and evaluate where you are right now, which will give you more insight and more consciousness on where you're at, which will allow you the information about yourself and the thought process to move forward. So like I said, this template is going to be available on the platform called Notion. You can download it on Apple, Android, You can download it as an application on your laptop, whether again that is a Mac or like a Windows laptop, and you can start filling it in right now. The link will be down below in the show notes, and that takes us to the end of the show.
Shall we summarize?
Let's summarize.
I think the thing that we spoke about, obviously, what it is, what is a positive mindset, a growth mindset, why it's so important, and then the individual points that you spoke about. I think that's what we should just quickly summarize, is the individual points that we went through, integrity, etc., and all that, and all that kind of stuff.
Of course. So quick summarize, the attributes of a positive mindset were optimism, being able to be optimistic about things that are happening in your life and wanting to strive forward with them rather than being pessimistic and thinking they might not work, so you don't actually do anything with that. Acceptance, being able to accept that something bad has happened or a setback has happened, and just accepting that is the way it is, that has happened, which moves on to resilience, which is the ability to bounce back from that setback happening. So you accept first, then your resilience comes into play, and you're able to bounce back and plan to move forward from that. Then you've got gratitude, the ability to appreciate the good things that are happening in your life, and the ability to appreciate everything that's going on around you, and all the good things, like having a roof over your head, being able to have clean drinking water, like you said before, having family members around you, still having your dad there, and accepting that they are accepting, and having the gratitude there to I'm lost for words.
It's like it's like, on MTV they used to have that show, My Sweet 16th.
Yeah.
And when the kid didn't get what they want, they're screaming at their parents. Like that's exactly what gratitude doesn't look like,
Yeah.
Somebody that's got everything. And I know that's not like, obviously we're talking to in my experience, it's from a local level, so I know that's something that happens in America. But you understand the point. People are very ungrateful these days.
That was the word that I
Grateful, yeah. People are so ungrateful nowadays, and it's like, it's just ridiculous, Yes. And Gary Vaynerchuk said, what is it? The chances of being a human being in the first place is like 3 trillion to 1, or something ridiculous. Like the statistics.
No, it's 300 trillion to 1 is the statistics of your little Mr. Ryan sperm swimming up to that egg and actually becoming a baby.
Yeah. So the chances
300 trillion to 1. It's mental.
So basically the chances of becoming a human are really slim. And the fact that you're here and you can experience all these emotions, and you can experience laughter and enjoying your life and living a long, fulfilling life, that's what you should be appreciating. Not when you don't get a certain amount of likes on a photo and all this rubbish, and just like, oh, I didn't pass this exam, and what I mean, it's just, the whole thing's just all the nonsense. You need to enjoy your life. You've only got one. And that's my thoughts on it. So you need to be grateful for everything you've got, because it doesn't last forever.
That's I'm very grateful for you saying that, Chris. Thank you.
I'm grateful that you said thank you.
The next one is, we had consciousness and mindfulness is the ability to look inside yourself and understand what you're feeling about certain things that happen. You feel bad, being conscious of how much time you spend on your phone, because that that spending too much time makes you feel like shit. It's being conscious of the food that puts in your body. After a big fat McD's, you might not feel as good as you could feel if you had a home cooked meal.
Yeah.
All these sort of things. Not that you should never eat McDonald's and enjoy yourself, because life is all about balance. But
absolutely,
it's having the consciousnness to understand that you know how you're going to feel after a certain thing. And then the last thing is integrity, which is the what was our wee definition of that again? It's the quality of being honest and having a strong moral principles.
It's your beliefs, your morals, being a good person,
your morals and beliefs,
emotionally connected to the world and everything around it, and being a thoughtful, helpful person that's a servant to everyone. That's the way we should be looking at it. It's to help at every opportunity we can.
Yep. And then it was the life audit. So yeah, thank you very much for listening. Like I said before, with the whole life audit, to finish things off, that will be in a link below in the show notes, which will take you to the template which you can download for your own Notion. In that, what I've done is I have got the headline questions, and I've got, in all the breakdowns, I've got examples. For example, myself, so that you can see how I would break that down, and then you
Yeah.
can just delete that and reword it, or change that so that it fits you as a person.
Yeah.
So that is in the show notes below. We would love to, once you have done your life audit, drop us a message on the Chris and Ryan Show on Instagram, or leave us a comment on the YouTube video, anything like this. We really want to hear back and see if this has actually helped you, or whether it's not helped you. So get in touch and let us know.
Yeah. And if it doesn't work, we won't look at it as a setback. We'll change your approach to help. So
You'll
that's a
accept
great example.
and you'll try something else.
Yeah, but honestly, my thing with it is having a good mindset will pay you back tenfold. You know, in your life, it's helped me so much having a positive mindset, and being a good person and being a good listener. And I actually think, just as a side point, just another thought that's in my head. I don't know if but it kind of does have something to do with mindset that I thought about last night when I was walking home. Is how important it is to be a good listener. The only reason I feel like I've done well in being able to continue my dad's business in Kovo, being able to DJ. I mean, I DJ'd in every club in Edinburgh. I've been fortunate I've ran a club night, doing a pod. Everything I've done, no matter what it is, I feel like it comes down to the point that I've got a day one mentality every day. Jeff Bezos speaks about it in an interview, and he does it as well, is that he assumes nothing, and that he kind of almost pretends that he doesn't know anything. And having a day one mentality every day is an amazing thing to have. A day one mentality basically means you're not you go into every day with your learning cap on, constantly learning, constantly listening to other people. I've never ever I listen to everyone, and that for me has actually been the most powerful thing that's helped me progress in my life. And I know that a lot of people, I've spoken to a lot of people in the past that have said, "Oh, I just want to do it myself. I don't want help." You get these kind of people. I don't want help. I want to do it myself. It's actually the worst thing that you can do if you want to progress to achieve success in life. There's 8 billion people on Earth. Use the resources of other people that have experienced life. I actually think that that's the quickest way to achieve, is utilizing other people's experiences. Because one person can't experience 8 billion people's life. So for me, that's my little thing I just wanted to add in there, is how important it is to listen. Me listening to people has allowed me to live a better life than I would have had I not listened to people. So it's crucial to listen to people. So
wonderful. So yeah, fantastic. If you enjoyed the show today, if you could share the show with one other person that you think this would help. If you've got a group of friends that you feel like could also use getting into a positive mindset, would be beneficial for them, give it a little share with them. And if there's anything on the show that we spoke about today that you maybe didn't understand fully, or you could use a little bit more explanation or stuff, just drop either of us a message on our private Instagrams, again, that'll be in the show notes below, or the Chris and Ryan Show, and we'll be more than happy to help and chat to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I hope everyone's taken away something from this, and it can be used to help yourself and other people. So yeah, like Ryan says, let us know how you get on with it. Happy to help.
Fantastic. Enjoy the rest of your day, folks. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Peace out.